Game begin.
So random. I was thinking about this and I'm like, this is so impossible. And I found out that nobody's positive. And I just like, it doesn't seem to me like it should be harder. Like I'm infinite on other formats. Why is this harder? I feel like the price is just so high.
You should name the other formats you're infinite in.
I don't know. Edge.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably easier to draft retail limited because the delta between a scuffed draft and a good draft is smaller. So
Mike.
He's got the belt.
I mean, this isn't that interesting other than I just say that the price is so high, and if you like get 5 wins in a cube, like the delta of profit is very narrow relative to the entry fee.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The 4.
Like,
if you get 7 wins, you're up 1 point. You get paid 1.4.
So like the bar is the same, but the delta of the bar of infinite is the same, but the delta on profit is so low that like if you just keep hitting 5s or whatever, it like takes a long time to be extra infinite.
I think my problem with it, I don't really care so much about like the economics of it. Vintage Cube is always about trying to have fun, but it is like a brutal structure for fun having, because if you're like you choosing to pick between like Guide of Souls or Tinker, you just like have to take Guide of Souls every time if you like having gems. And it's just like really obnoxious.
You must draft Boros.
Well, it's not even Boros. It's just like you like even there you'll be in spots where the presence of Boros means you can't do like you can't take like a random app excavator or something, right? Because it's like if it was a balanced metagame, then you could just like play a little bit more of the like build your own battlecruiser nonsense, but instead like you have to like have 4 copies of low costed removal in your like planeswalkers, your 5-color goods. It's just like you have to play like I'll open packs and I'll just be like, well, I have to take this Toxic Deluge instead of this Entomb, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that I hate. Like that's not fun. Like Vintage Cube should be about having fun, and I'm like, well, I am either going to take Guide of Souls or Toxic Deluge.
Because I have a hard stop. Let's talk about pre-modern.
I think Vintage Cube is a great topic because plenty of our listeners will be playing it, and people
do not give a fuck.
People in our Discord, everyone in our Discord is talking about it right now. So
okay, I mean, we could talk about it if you want. I don't think that they care, and I also don't think that we can speak with enough authority about Vintage Cube that we are more interesting than other content creators.
Let's talk about pre-modern. It's been a big.
I'm a
week or two.
I'm a super authority.
Steven has a
Cube.
freaking
Everyone
belt. Can you stop? Can you stop? Just record, and we'll talk about pre-modern. I get to go at 4:30.
Oh, we're not recording yet. Excellent.
Yeah,
we are recording. Hello and welcome to the Spike Colony Podcast. We're here with our guest. They're calling him the Kai Budde of the New York City pre-modern and pre-modern.
Who called him the Kai Budde of
no one calls me that.
Spin-off scenes?
I don't accept it.
No one has called him that.
What's your heritage? SWB? Yeah.
I don't know.
The generic white juggernaut.
Cleveland, Ohio.
the Cleveland juggernaut. SWB.
How am I not the Cleveland juggernaut?
Because
he's from the South.
I am from Tennessee. My dad's from Cleveland. His parents were from Czechoslovakia. So there you go, Laney. Maybe that's what you're looking for.
The Czech juggernaut, winner of Off the Top Rope, Stephen Wyatt Danger Bush. Welcome.
Sure.
No one calls him the Kai Budde of New York.
No one calls me that.
It's never been. That is a lie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But if it makes Mike that mad, I'll accept it.
Yeah,
it doesn't make me. It doesn't make me mad. You are a juggernaut. It makes me mad that he lied about the title. Like they could also call you the Postman. Right, like, oh, he's the postman.
That's a great nickname.
Yeah,
I think Juggernaut's an exaggeration. We're talking about a very small pond here.
Well, you can be a juggernaut in a small pond. It's just like juggernauts are not relative to like a larger sample mean, right? It's like juggernaut is only relative to the things that are standing in the way of the juggernaut. Like if you're
the postman, he stamps everybody
every turn.
Yeah, if you are unstoppable and you have not been stopped, it does not really matter the ponds in which you swim. You're still a juggernaut. Like many might identify that 90s Pro Tours and GPs were a smaller pond than currently. That didn't make Kai any less of a juggernaut. So.
Hundreds and hundreds of people. And he traveled internationally to play in them. I'm not trying to take anything away from Wyatt. He's obviously great. I'm just saying he's not Kai Budde of New York Magic. He could be the postman. I agree. He could be the checkmater. I don't know what you want to call him.
Well, you might recall that somewhere around the beginning of this year, we had SWB on when he also was X and O at Meetup and like went back to back or whatever.
I'm just a local guy who goes 3-0 fairly often. And you're
201,
right,
201 at times.
I went like 4-0, like 5 out of 6 of our monthlies, right? Because we would have a monthly in Manhattan and one in Brooklyn, and I'd won 5 out of 6.
Okay, so if I were to make an analogy about like a pro player that didn't manage to lose over a long string of tournaments, like what person might I compare those kinds of performances to?
Nathan Stoyer.
Fair enough. Nathan Stoyer was never called the Juggernaut. He was just called Stoyer.
Brad Nelson. These are probably more apt comparisons in terms of streak ability.
Nathan Stoyer played at my local shop in San Francisco. I remember handing him a Legacy Sneak and Show when he was half of my height, and I'm not a tall person. You know, he was young, and he was a great player even then.
Steven, did you ever do like the GP PTQ thing, or were you just kind of enjoying your life?
I missed out on a big chunk of Magic from 2003 to 2012, but prior to that, I played a PTQ or two.
There was right with the pre-modern cutoff, and so that that 2003 to 2012 is just irrelevant to you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then it started again. You know, more recently when GPs were still a thing, I did do a little bit of GP grinding, but I think after I dipped my toe in and I realized like I didn't want to spend multiple days in a windowless room, you know, in that manner, I just kind of became content to play at a smaller scale.
All right.
I didn't play pro Magic from 06 to 16, I think, or 7 to 15, one of those two, when Clark was born, basically.
No, fair enough. Well, starting with off the top rope, we just had a sort of novelty tournament here in New York City, our very own spin-off format in which you could not touch your deck outside of your draw step. And Steven, you were victorious. So tell us a little bit about how you're prepared for the event, what you thought the metagame would look like, if you like, you know, what happened there.
Yeah, what I thought the metagame might look like was swayed at least a little bit by what I listened to on this podcast, right? So I expected burn, and I expected possibly some pit rack. I expected those to be the two big things to look out for, and I expected more burn than there actually was, because there wasn't much burn.
There's no burn.
Was there?
I played some
red
decks,
deck,
they weren't
a
really
Goblins
burned.
deck by Andy Levine? There was Goblins.
No, there were decks that had more burnish cards, but there were like, I think one of them was a Bosium strip deck, you know, trying to get card advantage without drawing cards, but like no kind of
I was
conventional
doing that too, trying to get card advantage without drawing cards.
Like no kind of conventional sort of that I saw. I don't think I saw any sort of Jackal-Pup Grimlava Mancer Curse Scroll deck. There were a fair amount of pit rack decks.
So when you think that the metagame is going to be burn in pit rack, what brought you to choose elves?
Specifically in regard to burn, Yeah, what did bring me there? Because initially I wanted to play Pit Rack, and then I realized I didn't really want to play Mirrors. But my initial thought on the format was I'm going to play Ensnaring Bridge, Bottomless Pit, Null Brooch, Curse Scroll, 0 creatures, and I'm going to try to make all my opponent's cards irrelevant and then clock them with the rack.
That sounds awesome.
That was my thought when we first announced the tournament, and then a week before I started digging through my box and I just couldn't find the cards
Couldn't find
that I
Null
needed,
Breach.
but I did find a bunch of green cards easily, and I wanted to build. I built backwards from Ponza, like Oath Ponza. I was like, well, you don't play Mox Diamond, you don't play Oath, but you still want to blow up lands, and to do that quickly, you probably want some mana dorks. So I built a bunch of mana dorks and land destruction deck, and then I goldfished it for a day, and the more I goldfished it, the more I disliked the land destruction in my hand, and eventually it kind of backdoored into what looks like something that's trying to be an Elves deck. Although it originally started as I'm a Ponza deck. My initial thought with green was that Call of the Herd is amazing because it's just a 3-mana 3/3 that draws you a 4-mana 3/3. And that Curse Scroll should just be a 4 in every deck.
In pre-modern when you can touch your deck.
Right? Curse Scroll is just repeatable. You just draw a shock every turn, basically, right? It's card draw, it's removal, it's a win condition. So I thought every deck should probably be playing that. And then I was also influenced by a conversation I had with Ty Thomason on the way to Old School LobsterCon, where we just kind of speculated what we thought this format might be about. And Ty expressed that green might actually be good. So that got me excited about playing green. And so what I built was something that looks like Elves. Tries to abuse Wirewood Symbiote. You can't do the Miltanni's Acolyte, but you can cast a Range Hermit over and over and over again. And that's pretty good. Another pet card, and a card introduced to me by Ty Thomason that is in there, was the Phantom Nantuko. That card is also card advantage because any deck relying on damage to deal with threats has to at least 2-for-1 themselves to deal with it.
Right, and as a reminder,
if they
Phantom
catch it.
Nantuko is 2 and a G for a 0/0 that enters with 2+1/+1 counters. It has the Phantom ability, so that if it were to get dealt damage, it replaces that damage with removing a +1/+1 counter, and then it can tap to put a +1/+1 counter on itself, which in coordination with Wirewood Symbiote and, of course, Quirion Ranger, lets you grow it quite quickly. The rest is just Elves, 4 Cradle,
Yeah.
all your mana dorks. You've got some of the Rishon Import. You've got Tribal Force Mage, obviously. So it's like kind of like a Deranged Hermit combo deck because you have Symbiote, which is good with Hermit. Not much else to do with Symbiote here, right? You can bounce
the deck,
your
if I
flipped
could
Force
summarize
Mages.
the deck,
Yeah.
I would say there's Bintorn, Llanowar, Quirion Ranger, and Wirewood Symbiote. Those are all 1-drops, and there's 4 of each. There's also 4 Wall of Roots instead of Priest on purpose.
To respect Burn.
To respect Burn, to respect Engineered Plague, and to block Call of the Herd tokens all day.
Right.
And then there's the Phantom Nantuko, which also eats elephants all day. So there's the 4 Nantuko, 4 Hermit. Then we've got 3 Curse Scroll, because I felt like 3 was enough. I didn't need 4. There's 3 Naturalize that should just be
Vigilante.
Morph Naturalize, right? Then there's the 3 Tribal Force Mage as another thing that I can bounce with Symbiote and replay. So it's like I'm drawing a spell every turn. Then there's the Hermits and a couple Masticores and a Genesis. The Genesis just seemed like if there's going to be discard strategies, Genesis is good, and then if I have Masticore, Genesis is good. And then Masticore, you might look at it and say, why in the world would you want to discard a card every turn in a format where you can't draw a card? As long as the Masticore is making up for more than the cards it's costing you, it's great. Otherwise, you just don't cast it or just let it die or whatever. But a lot of times it would come down and just wipe my opponent's board in conjunction with Gaia's Cradle, and I didn't have to worry about it anymore.
SWB was able to overwhelm Andy's Goblin deck, even though Andy had 4 Goblin Sharpshooters.
4 Goblin Sharpshooters in the main deck, right? But a turn 3 Masticore backed by a lot of mana, just wiped his board. Didn't matter.
Well, there you go. So what did the metagame end up looking like then?
Lots of black-white. Is that what you saw as well, Mike?
I played against. I think there was like a I mean, I played against blue-green Tradewind in the first round. I played against two Ponza-ish decks and goblins, and then the last round I played against a White Weenie variant. I think that the most popular deck was not like a white deck, like that either had creatures or like big sort of white mana or both or life. Like, and I think that there's a lot of overlap between these decks, right? So
Yeah.
they, some of them have Thran Dynamo and Mobilization, and some of them have Mother of Runes and Exalted Angel, but they actually both have Exalted Angel, and some of them have Mother of Runes and Life combo, which is also a life thing. So like, and I guess they would all have Swords to Plowshares and Disenchant, right? So some kind of white Exalted Angel-y permanence in play, Mother of Runes. Keldor and Outpost was played in multiple archetypes. So like, it's weird to kind of lump those all together, but I feel like that chunk of white permanents that sometimes gain life or protect other permanents was the most popular deck.
I think that every deck I played in Swiss, aside from Goblins, had 4 main deck Exalted Angel.
Yeah, so
nice. So how did the metagame feel? Like, did you feel like you were playing a different kind of Magic? Was it fun? Was it like boring? Were you in top deck wars? Okay.
It did feel like a different kind of Magic.
It felt way more
like
random to me than regular pre-modern.
It felt more like old school to me, where you just play what you draw.
All right. Do we run this one back? Do we leave it on the shelf?
I think we could run this one once a year. It's
should this be
cool.
like a new side event at the next LobsterCon? Like, what are we thinking?
So I think it'd be nice to run it back at least once so people could incorporate what they learned the first time and then decide if it's worth more repeat play after that. It's going to get
super old if you play it more than once a year, maybe twice a year, right? I think, like, from my perspective, the games that I lost involved my opponent being helpless and then yelling off the top rope and playing the card that I had just killed and then defeating me with it, right? Like,
it was fun to yell out off the top rope anytime something great was top deck.
Yeah, so like against Andy, right? Like, I'd made a big deal. I had cut Engineered Plague from my sideboard because I guess I'm the dumbest, because you and Andy were like near the top of the Swiss, and it probably would have been pretty good, against the deck that came in second. But I just didn't have that card, and so I probably would have done much better against Goblins.
What card did you have instead? Please let the listeners
know.
Sand Golem.
So because I couldn't find Dodecapod, because I thought like SWB that there'd be like a lot of pit racks. So I thought, oh man, I'm gonna next level, and also like I thought Gerard's Verdict might be played. So I thought, like, I'm so smart, I'm gonna Sand Golem people. It should be a Dodecapod. I couldn't find any Dodecapods, so I had 4 Sand Golem in my sideboard instead of 4 Engineered Plague. Sand Golem came up 0 times. Engineered Plague, I don't know if nobody really beats Andy Levine, so I don't know if I really would have beaten him. I would have been a better shot, and it would have been better against. I lost to Luis. They both made top 8, obviously, with his blue-green Deranged Hermit deck. Maybe Engineered Plague would have been good against Squirrels there. Certainly would have been better than Sand Golem. So that one went to 3. I think it was like really. I felt like the format was random because you could do something and then it just like the order that your opponent drew their cards in their opening hand mattered more than anything that happened after that. That was kind of my experience, right? Like, I casted Duress. The only target was an opposition, which I took. Then he peels a Call of the Herd that allowed him to race my double rack. But if I had just like Duressed a Call of the Herd instead, I would have won by a mile, right? Like, this
is just the experience of people who play black decks like in regular pre-modern.
Is that just the Rock?
Yeah,
I mean, look, man, I'm not suggesting.
You're like, oh my god, my Duress didn't hit the top of their deck.
Like, I'm not suggesting that you play the Rock. I just think, like, with the same sort of conclusions and data points that SWB had, I played the Rack. I played 4 Call of the Herd. I played Curse Scroll, like all the things that he thought would be like pretty good are the cards I played. And there's just top decking, right? So if you can put your opponent in a kind of a negative situation and you have the rack and Curse Scroll, hopefully you can get them. But they can also just yell off the top rope and play another Siege Gang commander, and you're like, wow, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm the Rock.
It's crazy to
but
me
you can also
that
build a deck that like draws virtual cards, right?
you
what my
could
deck's
build a
trying to
deck that
do.
just contains Fire Blast. Like I just don't like.
You can.
It's like
I had Hurricane in the sideboard. It was so sweet.
You know what's really exciting about Virtual Card Advantage is that you can generate it with Grim Lavamancer and Sulfuric Vortex.
You think I didn't think about this? I was just like, everyone on Thursday was Mike's just going to play Burn.
And
I'm
Burn. You exclusively.
And I'm just like, I just didn't want to be typecast.
You don't want to be typecast, except for you always end up playing Burn anyways in normal pre-modern.
I mean, Andy was just like, why don't you just play Burn with the Rack? And I'm like, wait a minute. Burn with the Rack sounds pretty good, right? No one has any cards. So instead of playing Burn with the Rack, I played the Rock with the Rack. And I went 3-2. There was a 6-way tie for 3-2s. There was no draws in this tournament. Sonny said no draws, which I liked. I liked because it meant that I had
you're not allowed to
draw.
Yeah, you're not allowed to draw cards. You're not allowed to draw matches.
So I was one of the 3 people, along with Brian G and Landy Ho, to not make the top 8. The other 3-2s did make the top 8, but nobody knows who they are.
Fair enough. Okay, off the top rope. Shout out to Sonny for putting together a super fun event, and for Hex for hosting us. Moving on to normal pre-modern. You are on your 19-0-2 run in the weekly league with a parfait deck. You finished 3-1-1 and bubbled out at the Bearded Dragon at the Winamax, or win a few rounds and then split top 4 and go home, because that's what we do sometimes, I guess.
That's the move.
Tell me about parfait. I think my first question is, what do you think that you are doing differently with this deck than those that you may or may not have seen try before? Like, are you aware of the sort of Rich or Mike Packer deck that came after the land tax ban, or did you just kind of
Oh, the deck's very close to the Mike Packer deck.
Yeah,
it ended up very close. The deck in the summer, I went back to Tennessee, to my ancestral home, I guess you could say, and we played middle school. And I built a land tax scroll rack parfait deck. It did not contain the card Oath of Druids. I came back to New York. I tried to make that work with Gush. It didn't go great. I added Oath of Druids, and it went much better. It's kind of like how I landed there. But the deck came super close to what my Packer was already doing. But things I changed, like I ended up cutting the Zer's Weirding and some of the life gain that combos with that.
Ivory Tower, yep.
That stuff can just rot.
Ivory Tower was pretty good while you had it.
It did do some real work against you when you're on Psychotog, and you just kind of laughed at it, like, what is this trash card from the past? And then
but I could not deal 50. Let me tell you, my poor 1-2. He never died. He never had to die. He could not.
So it plays out like it's an Oath of Druids control deck. It wants to do Gush, Diamond, Armageddon things. It abuses Scroll Rack as best it can to dig for answers and convert Gush into just extra cards. And then it also has the Oath strategy to just invalidate a lot of creature decks. I think it has a lot in common with Bob's, which listeners may be familiar with. The Esper Bobs. The decks are doing a similar thing, right? Like they're doing.
Why would you say that? Your deck is infinite.
But then my deck has like an inevitability engine, and then instead of playing like a 2-mana 1/1, it just plays a 2-mana enchantment that just ends the game for a lot of decks.
Yeah, instead of playing a 2-mana 1/1, I have these cards that generate infinite card advantage. Like when you're playing cards like Gaia's Blessing and Gush together with Oath of Druids, a card like Ray of Revelation becomes small ball because Disenchant and Seal of Cleansing actually destroy more enchantments than Ray of Revelation will with greater card economy.
Yeah, but they do share a significant number of cards, even if they have very different visions of how the game is going to progress.
Yeah,
For sure, they're different.
this is like 40 of 60 Esper Bobs. So in many ways, it's just
Man, the ones
it's just green cards versus black cards. But
Brian Schneider told me this story. Brian Hacker comes up to him at Pro Tour. I want to say Chicago '97, the one that Randy won, and David Mills came in second with the Frenetic Efreet deck. And Brian Hacker comes up to Brian Schneider and he goes, "Oh, we're like doing the same thing because they're both got like Frenetic Efreet decks, I guess. And one of them has got like Sukata Firewalker and like a card advantage engine, and the other one has Savannah Lions." He's just like, and Brian Hacker is one of my favorite Brians, I got to tell you. But Brian Schneider is just like, these decks are not the same.
I don't know. SWB and I are basically the same person, so I don't think it's like Esper Bobs is also undefeated at weekly. So
that is true.
The parallels.
Esper Bobs has an even better win rate than I don't know, Packer Parfait. I don't know what you want to call it.
So
whatever this thing is. Yeah.
Why is this deck like? I need you to tell me in your opinion, like what this deck is doing, like where you are, like is this something that you consider to be your tier 1 deck? I think it's like pretty hard to win 19 matches without losing one if a deck isn't good, right?
I don't think it's a tier 1 deck.
Should other people be playing it, or like what's created this? Yeah, okay.
I think he is crazy to say that it's not a tier 1 deck, and I think like you are minimizing how well his performance has been up till this weekend, right? Like this weekend he bubbled out in 9th, but he didn't even have a bad record, right? You just had the tying record for top 8. You just happened to draw in the first round, I think.
Yeah, there were like 4 people with 3-1-1.
Yeah,
bubbled out. It's okay.
So, but like, it's not just that he has such a good record, just having not lost very many matches, and by very many I mean even one match prior to this weekend. Mm-hmm. What's your record like? 17-0-1 or something?
1902.
1902
at this point, right? Because 21 total rounds across 3x7, and then there's just 2 draws.
This sounds like a lot of math to me. So
but
slow down.
That ended up like winning 5 out of 7 leagues, I want to say. So I got one of them because I didn't play him, but he beat me in the 3rd round of every other league for 7 straight weeks, including the league finals. So he is such a beyond an end boss with this deck. It is clearly insane. And the reason I think that is because I have thrown every single kind of deck you can play going into... I guess that's not true because I won with Dreadnought one weekend and we didn't play that week.
I think what I won 2 weeks. Is like main deck Phyrexian Furnace.
Yeah. I won 2 weeks and I didn't play SWB either of the weeks that I won. I guess we never played when I was on Dreadnought, but he beat me on Red, he beat me on Psychotog, he beat me on Enchantress twice, beat me on Stompy twice. Yeah, so...
so what the deck does is it does not try to win the game. It tries to not lose the game. That's kind of what it's doing. There was one night I went to League and I realized that I won every game by concession. It was like a 3-0, 6-0. I didn't actually win a single game. Just people just said, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm finished.
Really? Why?
Did you feel like they were picking up their cards when they actually had outs? Like, are you just winning by confusion and people?
No, they must have been. I've taken games off of him with Stompy with Oath of Druids in play.
So,
you can win.
So what happens is I think people realize, like, if I want to, like, I'm probably not going to win the game the way this is going. If I want to win this match, I need to concede this game and try to win the next 2 games in a quick manner. So I think that's kind of the thought process at play there. The way matches go when you're piloting this deck is sometimes you win game 1 and then you're content to just not lose game 2. But sometimes you lose game 1 and then you need to win games 2 and 3 quickly.
Right, and that's when you start doing fun things like board and Dreadnought combo or.
That was
typically
it's
2 weeks I brought a transformative Dreadnought sideboard, but I think the more sound sideboard is more like Meddling Mage Call of the Herd, where I was doing like 3 Call of the Herd and 4 Mage.
Yeah, and then you
And
just turn into Grotog, and then that's...
I turn into like slow grow, right? Like slow grow a Tog. But yeah, a couple weeks there I had, my sideboard was 4 Mage, 4 Dreadnought, 4 Vision Charm, 3 Stifle. Like just all 15 come in, and then you're like this weird, just a weird deck at that point.
I don't know. You've got what? You have Gush, Foil, Counterspell, Meddling Mage, Flooded
1
Strand,
foil and 4 Counterspell to protect it. Plus
The-
4.
the-
Scythe, Vision Charm, and Dreadnought. It doesn't sound like a weird deck to me. It sounds like
The
a deck
first-
we've all know and love.
Well, the first time
Plus it's
you
got
beat me
Sylvan.
on Enchantress,
Someone is just 10 portents, so...
I did the thing where you just get all of your threats countered, but I drew my Replenish and my Opalescence in the wrong order. Maybe I didn't have to draw so many cards with Wild Growth that game, so I get decked, and then I'm like, okay, I know how to play this matchup. And then in game 2, I played, I don't know, I played like a first turn something probably pretty good, but not good enough. And SWB literally just goes first turn Mox Dreadnought Vision Charm with like his foil in his hand. And then I was dead. And then the next time I did it correctly and I said, show me 5 counter spells and I'll concede so that we'll just go to the next game. And he refused to show me 5 counter
I
spells.
only had 4.
I cast 4 must counters in 1 turn, but he had 4. So
I thought maybe you'd added a second Replenish, and I really needed 5. So I just was like, okay, he said 5, so I'm just gonna not show him anything. I added a lobotomy to the board recently, which I think should help in that matchup. Any Opalescence matchup, that should help quite a bit.
Yeah, you can, as long as you can sniff out that they're holding it. So you're crushing with this deck. You're winning every single week. So 19-0-2 means that's 6 3-0s and 2 2-0-1s.
Mm-hmm.
but like the hero won on the 2-0-1 weeks, let's be honest.
Me.
I won one of them with Dreadnought, and I won one of them with Red Deck.
But
Yes.
you don't recommend anybody else play this deck. So
Oh,
what?
I mean, I would recommend. Maybe I would. But in general, like I wouldn't put out like a blanket endorsement, like, "Hey, everyone, go build this and try it out."
But
Right,
now
but,
that you've
like,
lost a match,
if LobsterCon is like next week, and you know,
I wouldn't even recommend this for anyone for LobsterCon, not myself, because the amount of endurance to play that many rounds with this deck. When I just had to play 5 on Sunday, I was like, "This is 2 rounds too many." I want to, Thursday 3 rounds. This deck's great. You have 3 hours of nonstop magic because you almost always fill the
you're
entire.
just
range.
always playing, yeah.
not against me. We still
All
finished
right,
first.
all right. Let's set that aside. Let's set that aside because I'm
Laney,
trying
you
to get,
should not play this at
I'm
LobsterCon.
trying to
You
get
would
at
not
the
finish game 1.
Mike. Shut up. I'm trying to get at the root question here because I want to know what you think about this deck outside of the externalities, right? So a lot of our listeners are here in New York, but a lot of our listeners are elsewhere. They like picking off, decks that they see online. So, I'm still looking for a picture of like what's happening here. Like, do you think that this is just really excellent against decks that New Yorkers bring? Do you think that this is just excellent because people don't really understand it? And, eventually the fun's going to end or you're going to stop, like where are we landing on
Good
that?
question. Maybe I'm only winning because Jeff Ferris moved. It's hard to know. It's because he used to Cabal Therapy my hand apart and just crush me whatever I brought.
Are you
but
saying
I-
the Rock would get you?
No, he played like an aggressive deck with Cabal Therapy, never the Rock. Okay, to your question, Lanny, it's a very powerful deck, and it's just a different way of thinking about the game because you're just playing to not lose more than you're playing to win.
So do you like what have you found with like your matchups? Like, is it just been like you have something for everyone? Like, do you just feel comfortable against like the entire range of like combo control and aggro? Like, are there any spots where things get kind of close and you're just kind of like, oh, like last week I almost lost to this, and then that kind of like made you do whatever? Or do you feel like you kind of have the tools that you need?
I don't think I've had to play it against Replenish yet, and I'm positive that that's going to be atrocious. Like it seems like it could be tough, although there's always the chance that I like counter key spell into Armageddon and just do that enough times. But Replenish and Enchantress both theoretically seem like they should be pretty tough to me, although I have gotten lucky against Enchantress Just knowing that all I need to do is counter 4 spells in game 1 helps a lot. It definitely is great against any creature deck, right? It's an Oath of Druids deck. Has very polarized matchups. So anytime my opponent's relying on little creatures, I'm very happy in game 1. And anytime they're not, it's like I have a bunch of dead cards in my deck and sometimes can pull it off anyway, but a lot of the times that's where you end up needing to pivot to a more proactive plan and win 2 games before the round ends.
Yeah,
and a lot of times when you find yourself in that matchup, you might just pick them up early.
Yeah, I was kind of curious, like, basically that section of the metagame, right? Because it's like Oath always wins against creature decks, but like where, you know, there's like the stasis, like everyone thinks that New York all we do is play stasis, but there's like stasis, mono blue tide, right? You mentioned Enchantress. There's opposing Ponza Oath decks. So
yeah, like I think one time Chris Cruz maybe had like the Oath Ponza start with like a Sphere of Resistance or something, and I just packed it up. Like you don't even get to see a land drop. You don't get to know what I'm playing at all.
Right.
We played a second game, you know, with them being totally in the dark, because that portion of the metagame is a lot harder. But it just lined up well against what we see at weeklies.
Yeah,
I think.
And what about Mono Blue Tide? Because you played against Mono Blue Tide a couple weeks ago too, right?
I did, and I also played against Brian's Blue Black Tide, he's basically Mono Blue Tide with a little splash for some removal and duress, and even that felt fine. Well, the sideboard pivot feels really strong there. The Meddling Mage, Call of the Herd pivot. More so than the Dreadnought pivot. Because some matchups, it's like Dreadnought's really not an improvement against them, especially if they know it's coming. Dreadnought's good when people don't know it's coming. Because you present a deck without a lot of targets for them to remove, they take all that out, and then you get them. But that's the same function as the Calls and the Mages. I enjoy that. I think at some point I want to just show up with that being the main deck plan and have the Oath plan being in the sideboard, at which point it's kind of like a slower version of Roland's deck from LobsterCon.
Right.
I thought you were going to quit playing this deck finally after you having lost a match this weekend.
Yeah, I am relieved now. I remember after I started playing it, I just thought I'll just keep playing till I lose a round, and I'm free now.
You're like Ken Jennings.
It took 2 months to lose a match.
Yeah. So we had a good run.
Yeah, but it was outrageous for me to say that he was a juggernaut. I don't know. In any case,
a juggernaut is 5-3, so it is outrageous.
Yeah, I'm 19-0-2. Okay, not 5-3.
Moving on. Last weekend actually just 4 days ago, the Spanish Nationals concluded. It was the largest pre-modern tournament ever. The winner of that tournament was none other than repeat Spy Colony deck topic Moneyball Black in a sea of Dreadnought decks.
That was a good top 16. Javier Dominguez, maybe the 4th best Magic player of all time, was in the top 16 with the most uninspired replenished deck I've ever seen. But there were a lot of
uninspired because it was exactly Mengu's list.
Deck. Yeah, it's just not anything.
No, it's like it's literally he got the list from Mengu. Like that's the
No, there's only 2 Exalted Angels and no Meddling Mages in the sideboard.
Yeah, I mean he probably oh okay. I mean
have those cards.
This is is what I heard on the street. For what it's worth, it is hearsay. Like 5 Stifle Knot in the top 16, 6 Stifle Knot in the top 16, actually. Like completely, like the bluest, like after we were like, oh, Massachusetts is all blue or North America is all blue, and all these European tournaments are just like Kerrigan and Goblins and Burn. Like Spanish Nat shows up, biggest pre-modern tournament ever, and it's just all Stifle Knot. And then there's also Stasis in there. And yeah, Moneyball Black, Oath Ponza, Elves, 1 T-Geds, and 1 Goblins and 2 Elves.
Wait, so, are you not excited to hear about my Sunday tournament?
Well, the one where you just play Dreadnought. I guess we can talk about. You like making top 8 with Dreadnought and then losing to Elves in the round of 8. What did we learn? Is there anything new to talk about here? Okay.
I actually learned a lot.
Okay,
so
lay it on
I played the accumulated knowledge version, and I only lost 2 games in the Swiss, and both of those games were games that were like, I looked at my hand and had 2 accumulated knowledges, and I'm like, oh, this is probably a serviceable hand. No, got ran over both of the times I did that. So don't do that again. I think maybe accumulated knowledge is just wrong. It's not good. In the top 8 against Ty, I had a third turn combo in game. I had to mulligan. My opening hand wasn't good enough. I had a third turn combo, was not good enough. He made 30 squirrels on his third turn. Game 2, I had a second turn combo, but no free spell backup. He made 30 squirrels on turn 3. So I got one attack in, and he made 30 squirrels again. And the things I would learn are Essence Flare is really good on turn 1. It's horrendous after turn 1. And that was another game. I cast an Impulse, 2 Opts, a Gush, and 2 AKs in 2 turn sequences, and I could not find a Chain of Vapor or a Powder Keg, although they were in my deck. And I would have won if I had drawn you the card. But AK failed me, even though I drew a lot of cards in 2 turn cycles.
Yeah, I think AK is like pretty bad against specifically elves, but elves is like the only deck that you lost against, right?
I went
4-1, right? Or
I went 4-1 and no 4-0-1.
4-0-1. Yeah. So elves is the only deck you lost against, and
I played Ty in the Swiss and I 2-0'd him, and then I played Ty in the top 8 and he 2-0'd me.
I don't even think Essence Flare is supposed to come in against elves. There's not really any interesting targets.
So it makes sense if you're on the player draw.
Yeah, I mean, so let's actually spell this out. So you're on the play. Well, if you're like on the draw against Llanowar Elf, like is Essence Flare going to like create the window for you to not?
The thing that's bad about it is then you can't annul if you sided in a null on the draw, and you're definitely going to side in a null on the draw.
I just don't think it's good. I don't think trading card for a card that they have 10 of and doesn't cause you to lose the game is good.
You're probably right. I thought it was. I mean, actually, SWB was, I think, watching this game. I had 2 Essence Flares on top of my deck, and I shuffled when I portented because I needed to get out of the situation that I was in, and I drew all 4 Essence Flares in a 2-turn window at that point.
Yeah. The real problem you had was that Ty had 3 Wirewood Symbiotes.
He had 3 Wirewood
Symbiotes. So if you'd only had 1, then Essence Flare would have maybe been a welcome draw, because then the Hermit wouldn't be a repeat problem. But he had 3, so he was just casting 3 Hermits a turn pretty soon.
Yeah, so because he had 3 Symbiotes and a Cradle was really the problem. So he literally just made 30 squirrels in the next turn.
Yeah. I have like a few scripts for this matchup, and none of them involve Essence Flare mattering. Like basically the first is you jam on turn 2 and they have it or they don't have it, or they have it and you have it and you win. The second is they have 3 1/1s, but you have some combination of Mishra's Factory and like interaction with their engine, so that they have 3 1/1s, but you like counter the Acolyte, you block everything else with Mishra's Factory, and then eventually you accrue enough card advantage because you draw multiple cards per turn, they just draw 1 per turn. Maybe they have 2 naturalized, but you have double protection. And then those are the 2 scripts. So I don't think Essence Flare is really helping out either of them, basically.
So against A-Shock in round 4, it was game 3. We split the first 2 games. He dominated. He was playing Mono Blue Tide. He dominated my 12-12 in game 2. Game 3, I kept a fast jam with 2 AKs and like the ability to find a Flash of Insight. So my thought process was he can answer my Dreadnought and I'll rebuild, which is what happened, right? So I actually just rebuilt faster than him and then Tide comboed him with Gush before he could Tide combo me, and then he just conceded. So that was the hand I kept against Ty in game 2. I kept a turn 2 jam with 2 AKs. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to turn 2 jam here. I don't have a free counter spell to protect it. If he has the response, I'll just rebuild, right? The problem is he didn't have a naturalize. He had, again, 3 Wirewood Symbiotes and just made so many squirrels that it was just better than my 1-12-12.
Yeah. The best defense is offense. Yeah.
Like it was like 48 power or something. I'm like, I can't. He's like, I think you should have attacked the previous turn. And he's just like, you're going to lose the Dreadnought at some point, but like, at least you tax me here. And maybe he was right. I actually had another Dreadnought because I'd drawn so many cards, but I was just so far behind in damage that I don't know. That was my thought process. I kept a turn 2 jam, had rebuild, but I just picked the wrong fork. I thought, he might have a naturalized, but instead he just had a better threat.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just, whatever. Like top 8 with Dreadnought, you matchup lottery into, not even a bad matchup, just like a less good matchup, right? And then you lose. But if you draw a different deck, then maybe you're splitting top 4, and it's just another day in the office for the
No,
deck.
I'm not. If I had won my match, there's no splits. Everyone out, the other 7 people wanted to split. I yelled no splits. I'm first.
They wanted
seed
to
with
split.
Red
they wanted to split
8,
the
right. I'm like, no
split.
way.
Full top
Every time
8
in my
split
life
is
that I've said no
diabolical.
splits, I've lost immediately. Anytime that it's been my idea to no split and I'm the only holdout, I just immediately lose.
Obviously, Ty's probably. I mean, there was a Pro Tour champion in the top 8, but Ty's one of the strongest players in the top 8. But I'd already.
You're talking about JVL.
Yeah.
So Ty also top 8 at a Pro Tour. It's actually hilarious how stacked. It's actually crazy how stacked with Pro Tour with every bearded dragon
player, right?
Every bearded dragon event, JVL like carpools in with Mike Harris and Ty plays, and it's like more Pro Tour top 8ers in one building than actually any of our New York meetups.
So anyway. But I mean, Ty's obviously a formidable player who has beaten me in the past, right? Like, so I'm like, but I thought that I beat him in the Swiss, so I thought, I'm going to be on the play. I like my spot, right? Like, Lanny, you could not have forgiven me if I had taken an 8-way split at the 8 from first seed.
I would never forgive you from splitting ever. I don't forgive.
I would not have.
So I don't forgive splitting, and I expect other people to not forgive me for splitting.
Not planned to split at the 4, but I didn't make it to the 4.
Yeah, exactly. No, like die on yourself. My point is that the like Mike, I'm putting this in the context of like basically sort of repeated disappointment in some of your choices. And this is like the one time you went to a tournament, I'm like, I have no notes. You played the best deck. You did well.
I mulliganed.
You mulligan sometimes. I think some of your conclusions are maybe like a little thin. Like I think like, oh yeah, like you lost one match because you have AKs in your deck. It's just like you watched the one match that AKs aren't good against, but like there's every other deck out there.
I kept AK draws 2 other times and lost the games. That's the thing. So I kept an AK draw against goblins, and my thought process was I'm gonna have to beat him with tonnage anyway because he's got Tinkerer and Pyroblast. So it's going to be really hard for me to just like jam and beat him here. So I'm just going to draw 100 cards, but he just ran me over instead.
Yeah,
so,
you can't. I mean, I disagree with the idea that you could possibly AK your way out of like. Lest we forget that upon casting 2 AKs, you've cast the equivalent of 1 deep analysis, right? Like it's not really that much card advantage that you're getting when you have to respect Goblin Lackey, Goblin War Chief, Goblin Pile Driver forces you to respect everything else, Goblin Tinker, Goblin Ringleader, and Siege Gang Commander. It's just like when you are playing the Goblins matchup, you have to put Dreadnought onto the battlefield and like win the game.
Randy, I won game 3. Okay,
yeah. But
we got there. But I only lost 2
none of this
is
the fault of accumulated knowledge. And the final caveat is, of course, that in metagames that are going to be more blue, you're going to want access to accumulated knowledge, even though John Asensio was toppled by Mono Black in the hands of Sebastiano Gabriele.
Actually, this is like one of the matchups where you want accumulated knowledge.
You really want accumulated knowledge against Moneyball Black. If it's going to be Moneyball Black in the metagame, you really want your AKs. You want your Parallax Tide sideboard. You want to be able to turn into a deck that has AK Mistress Factory and Tide combo post sideboard. Of course, Moneyball Black runs Wasteland, which makes things a lot more difficult for you because you can't keep Dreadnought safe in your hand because of Cabal Therapy. You can't keep Mistress Factories safe in play because of Wasteland. So like, the Bible basically is like, oh, if they're playing Wasteland, you have to board out Factory. And, if you're going to play a grindy game, you like play Tide and you cut down on Dreadnoughts. But if you start cutting down on Dreadnoughts, then you start getting Dreadnoughts therapied out of your hand, and then you've kind of got nothing going on and you can't close out with Tide. So,
speaking of Tide, is Tide just my nemesis? I was just thinking about this. I have top 4 or better every bearded tournament I've ever played in, except for Ty beat me in the Burn Mirror to keep me out of top 8 once, and then he beat me on Sunday.
I think Ty is your second worst enemy after yourself.
Okay, I think it's. I mean, I'm just thinking about this. I've literally top four.
He might be your
every fairness
third
tournament.
worst enemy out behind yourself and fear.
What about Wyatt? Wyatt's beaten me like.
All right, so Ty is your fourth worst enemy
75% of the time,
behind
including
yourself,
the finals.
fear, and SWB.
No one can beat SWB.
So speaking of Ty and Moneyball Black, just want to plug that Ty has a podcast
About Moneyball Black.
about Moneyball Black that dropped this week.
Yeah, he did it. He recorded it with the progenitor of Moneyball Black, Grand Fly. And have you listened to it? I haven't gotten a chance.
I started listening
Fool's
to it
Tome.
last night.
It's called Fool's Tome. Yeah.
It's on YouTube, or I don't know. At least it's on YouTube. So I started listening to it on my phone, but I was like out. And if it was a regular podcast, I would have kept listening to it. But I had to keep my app open the whole time because on YouTube.
This is what happened to me when I tried to listen to Top Level Podcast, Mike.
What are you
I was like, I
talking
wish
about,
this was
man?
just on Spotify.
It's on
It's on
Apple
Spotify.
Podcasts. Is it on Spotify? It might not
Is
be
it?
on Spotify.
Okay.
I put it on
Yeah.
Spotify after
Okay.
SWB yelled at me for it not
get
being
there.
on Spotify. It's on
All
Spotify.
right, top level podcast and Fool's Toe.
This week's Top Level podcast is about pre-modern because Patrick decided he wanted to talk about pre-modern.
Love
It
that.
has no overlap with any topic we have ever had, by the way.
How is that even possible? Okay, right, I mean,
First
I guess
of all,
it doesn't.
he didn't believe me that Mono Blue was the best deck in pre-modern. He's just like, if that's true, why does everyone play red? Like, that was literally what he said to me.
That's.
I'm like-
I mean, that's
like,
the point.
wow. Let me tell you about card availability. And he's just like, that's not possible. It's clearly Replenish and Red. Replenish is played by the Pro Tour players, and Red is played by everybody else. And I'm like, it's Mono Blue. Anyway, you can listen to that on Top Level Podcast. I'm supposed to be editing it today, but instead I'm talking to you.
Fair enough. I mean, the content empire and grind machine must keep going. Do we have any thoughts on Moneyball Black? My thought is, I think Moneyball Black should just not play Withered Wretch in the main deck. But that's the beginning and end of my thought.
I tried to
Withered
make it.
Wretch. Withered Wretch is the only guy on the team that I think is actually negative delta on wins replacement. Everybody else, is like at replacement or better. Like, I've got my Dark Rituals. I'm putting Phyrexian Arena in play. I'm putting Hypnotic Spectre in play. Sure, some stuff dies to Swords of Plowshares, but that's what Duress Cabal Therapy is for. Withered Wretch is just hanging out there. It's like, hey guys, is anybody using their graveyard?
If
There's
so,
that value in having
my deck was
graveyard
better.
interaction in the main. As someone who's been playing a deck that relies on graveyard recursion for the past couple months, if more people had main deck graveyard hate, I would lose more game ones.
Yeah, but isn't Furnace just the tits?
Yeah,
Yeah, Furnace is really the way to go.
That's
against
kind of my bottom line point on that, is just that, like, if the
Ah.
thesis of your deck is that you don't have cards that underperform in certain scenarios, right? You're just like happy because you don't have good card draw, right? So you're just like happy to draw whatever you draw. Like, you want those cards to be more than just a 2/2. It's the opposite of the Oath problem, right? Where you're just like, oh, I'm playing an Oath the Druids deck. If Oath is on, I win the game. If Oath is off, I lose the game.
I was
First of
actually
all,
thinking-
if Withered Wretch is on, you don't even win the game. They might just cast Parallax, or they might just cast Opalescence on you, right?
Well,
and
no.
then-
I was thinking about Oath specifically. Withered Wretch turns on Oath. Phyrexian Furnace turns off your deck. Like, it's really hard for SWB to just win through multiple.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
Phyrexian Furnaces.
I wouldn't get distracted by trying to talk about the Moneyball Black versus Parfait matchup if nobody's going to play Parfait. But like,
or Moneyball Black.
Fundamentally, like, a 2/2 with an upside of sometimes catching Accumulated Knowledge, Flash of Insight, or a Call the Herd token is just like hopefully not above the next black card, right? Like, we're playing 2 Phyrexian Arena. I see no reason not to just play 4. It has the convenient mana cost of Dark Ritual.
I was thinking the same thing. Play 2 main deck Phyrexian Furnaces to go with the 2 in the sideboard.
Yeah.
That's exactly the changes I would make.
Yeah.
It turns out I don't own any Hypnotic Specters because I tried to make this deck for League this week. Then I found out League was at Hex West, and then I just decided not to go to League this week.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I mean, it's at Finback if you want to go to Finback instead.
Yeah, I found that out after I didn't get invited to Finback and everybody else did, so I decided to make alternate plans tonight.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I played a little bit of Moneyball Black. I ended up playing against the Moneyball Black mirror because, go figure, you podcast about Moneyball Black for 2 weeks straight and other people want to play it. I don't know, like, it's tough. I've been playing a lot of Survival of the Fittest decks recently, and like Survival of the Fittest decks are good against both black mid range and mono blue variants. So,
but not good against Phyrexian Furnace.
You can beat a Phyrexian Furnace with Survival of the Fittest. You just have
make enough deranged hermits.
No, I mean you just have artifact removal in your deck, right? So it's like they go Furnace, and you're like, okay, I guess I have to go get a tribe or whatever.
Are you
playing the Furnace before Squeeze in your graveyard though?
Yeah, I mean they can do that, but regardless, so they play the Furnace, maybe they get your Squee, right? But you can. Oh, actually, the answer to your question is that they have to have the Furnace in play, right? Because if they don't have the Furnace in play, then you just end step the Squee, and then you pick it up on your upkeep.
Right, Furnace is on your radar.
You just get a +1. Right. I mean, last time I played Survival,
it's like two questions, right? Why are we not furnacing when you can't catch a Squee? It's like, well, why are we exposing Squee to Furnace if there's not one on the table, right? So there's no way for you to exploit the survival player. So there's that. Like, I don't know how Moneyball Black is against T-Ged. I'm not really that interested. I mean, like,
Dystopia's got to be good against T-Ed.
I mean, what I feel like Phyrexian Arena is just good against T-Ged. Like, you
think everything's good against T-Ged. That's why you changed
T-Ged
out
sucks.
I mean, if it says draw a card on it, okay, like, you tell me about like the following sequences against T-Ged. Okay, sequence number 1, Ritual Hippie. It's like pretty good, right?
Power no.
Yeah, power no.
A lot of decks are like that, though.
Sequence number 2, like Duress, and then Hippie, right? Sequence number 3, like Duress and Phyrexian Arena. Sequence number 4, like Phyrexian Arena, like smother your Terravore, like hold swamp. Like, you're not even that bad against Armageddon because you just put 3 swamps into play. And then you hold 1 back with the Dark Ritual, so they like get in you, and you're like, okay, Swamp Ritual. My next thing, I don't know. I mean, what I mean, look, if you were, let me put you in another place. You just top 16'd the Spanish Nationals, the largest pre-modern tournament ever. You get to choose any one of these seats. 6 Stifle players, the 1 Moneyball Black guy, Oath Ponza, 2 Elves players, Stasis, Goblins, or 2 Replenish. What seat are you taking?
You got to take Replenish.
You want to try to mow down 6 Stifle players if you may. Okay, let's see which one of these guys has Meddling Mage.
The Moneyball Black versus Dreadnought matchup has to be.
It's good.
Right? Yeah, it's got to be superb. I mean, it's as good as it can be. They might just AK you out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're just going to try to win the tournament, Replenish is like even or better again in the Stifle Knot matchups, where the Stifle Knot matchups are just even against each other, and then like can be busted by Elves. Replenish is probably going to beat Elves, and Stifle Knot's behind against Moneyball Black. So Replenish is just I hate to say the word mathematically, but it's just mathematically the best choice. It's like equivalent to the best deck, and it's got a slight edge in the other matchups, and it's about even against the best deck, and as a bans.
I think, one, you have to respect like the list that people have. And then 2, I think that if you were to tell me I had to battle a top 16, not a top 8, and there's 6 Dreadnought players, I would not be confident that I would, be able to go 2-0 against 2 Dreadnought players.
With the Dreadnought deck, you're going to feel confident? You think you're better than with the
No, I think you take Moneyball Black. That's the point.
All right. I got to love Mike. You guys continue. Love Mike.
All right.
Stephen Whitebush is the German juggernaut of the East Village.
The Nashville the East Village juggernaut. Fair enough. Stephen, who are you taking in this top 16?
Personally, I'd probably choose to pilot Elves.
Yeah, I think Elves is like a pretty interesting choice too, because if you dodge Replenish, you're like, hopefully you're good against Dreadnought. What do you think about Elves versus Stifle Knot? Do you think that there's like, I mean, I don't know. Have you played the matchup? Because it does. I don't think it feels good from the Elf side.
It feels pretty good from the Elf side, depending on how it's built, right? I even got it when I was playing some kind of janky Elves deck that was all in on Biorhythm. That felt pretty good. But I would choose Elves over Moneyball Black specifically because it just feels more like in my wheelhouse on like a vibes level. I do think that Moneyball Black has a great matchup spread among the top 16 that you described.
Yeah. And then like going farther down, it looks like, if it's all Tide Control and Stifle Knot in Spain and like no burn decks, then, Moneyball Black must be where it's at.
Yeah, but I mean, Elves does have a great matchup against Stifle Knot in my experience, and in just watching like Ty versus Mike. I mean, that was just N of one, but in my experience piloting Elves, I think I've always got Stifle Knot in that matchup.
Yeah, I think my personal feel is that you get gotten a lot by just like fast combo, right? Because you don't have a lot of influence over your opening draws, and like there's not much you can top deck outside of natural. Like you'll be in these spots where you're just like, okay, well, I have one naturalize, right? And that's like all you can do in those compressed games. And I think that is eased tremendously if you have access to Tangle Wire or Swords to Plowshares, and then
I was about to say Tangle Wire changes that. Like, is Tangle Wire even in your 75 that week?
Yeah. I mean, I right now I wouldn't put Tangle Wire in my 75, right? I would sooner just play I would play Plowshares if I wanted a card that was good against Dreadnought, but also like in my Elves deck, then I might just like splash Plowshares. You said that you are going to not play Parfait. What is interesting to you? You can name like 10 decks to throw people off the scent, but what are you interested in next? Are you going to revisit a deck that you have? You were the Enchantress guy for a little bit. Are you going to go back to being the Enchantress guy, the blue-white Tide guy, the Dreadnought guy at times, Burn, etc.?
Oh, I mean, I already hinted at this. I've been planning to sleeve Elves back up, but I'm also interested in the Sam Black Mulch deck.
Oh, yeah. So just replace Parfait with another Skull Rack deck.
But then it's like
exactly the same thing.
It's going to be some long rounds, and maybe it'd be nice to play something that just is a little faster, more proactive, plays to the board, make them have it kind of style deck. Would be a nice change. I don't often feel drawn to play like a mono black deck.
Yeah. You had it constructed for a little bit, right? Because people were talking about it enough just to see what's up, but you don't feel it. You don't like playing off the top rope, I feel like.
There was right, and even prior to that I had built Pit Rack, the more traditional one with Ritual, Skittering Scourge, whatever, those kind of weird cards. Like why is Skittering Scourge seeing play with a deck with other creatures? I don't know, but
the line is Swamp Ritual, Hippie, get it, Plowshare, Skittering Scourge, and then cross your fingers for the next 7 turns.
And then you have Flip to Delver, right? And it feels pretty good. And I remember playing that against Mike when he was on Burn, and the games felt pretty close. But you just have to be in a certain mood to want to play mono black. I have to be in a certain mood to want to play mono black.
Yeah. All right. I have the sauce for Elves. All right. I played the Supar Wave deck recently. I had like my own twist on it, but the main change, and this is a deck that has Opal Wave combo with Auramancer, so that if you have Auramancer and Wave in play, you'll always have Auramancer and Wave in play.
Assuming your survival deck too?
Yeah, and it's a survival deck, so you can survival for Rector.
Academy Rector, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so you sometimes put enchantments into play, but
you play multiple waves and like a single Opalescence.
You can play any number of those cards. Here's the breakthrough. If you have Auramancer in your deck, Enlightened Tutor for Survival is extremely powerful against the entire swath of like decks that lose to Survival of the Fittest, right? Because they suffer from exactly the same problem that Terrageddon only ever draws 1 copy of Plowshares and 1 copy of Naturalize, right? So they'll like 1 copy of Naturalize you, and you'll survive and be like, fine, I'll get Auramancer. I'll get my survival back. It doesn't matter that I did this because I'll just win the game if I have survival in play. And the second thing was that this came up in the Madness Discord. If you have Survival of the Fittest into Solitary Confinement, your red opponent loses on the spot. And you don't get Solitary Confinement locked because you have Squee and Genesis, or you can sideboard in a second Squee if that's your plan. So I actually did this in the Supar Wave deck, and I was just kind of like, oh, well, this deck is awesome. It can do all this stuff, but like I found out that really all I need to do is Enlightened Tutor for Survival and then Survival for Auramancer, and then I'm good. So like, why don't I just play green-white Elves and I get to have Gaia's Cradle and like all of the same cards, but I can just play like my green-white Elves deck with Enlightened Tutor, Auramancer, and then for the Burn matchup, I just get a sideboard in Solitary Confinement. And honestly, there is like a world. I mean, I don't know this part. I'm a little iffy against. So one, solitary confinement also beats brain freeze combo, right? So
Yes.
it's like kind of annoying to them. So I played against the Lotus Veil version of the Storm deck that just plays Lotus Veil plus untapping. I guess it was like, I mean, I had green cards basically. I had crop rotation and for the city, the ghost town, like the untap your land. It's generic and tap this to untap a land. And they, if they do have their combo turn, like they can obviously go dig until they find Chain of Vapor and then get your solitary confinement, but it means that they can't just like go off. And these are decks with meditate, right? So like if they try to like meditate their way into a win, and then finally the other interesting thing is like if you do have Opal Wave combo in play, then you can always protect your solitary confinement. So
if you're playing green-white, does it mean you've given up Anger and Mountain?
you don't have to, but I think that it might help you to open up that deck space. And
because you need to have, in my experience, you need to have at least 14 turn one untapped green sources, like ready to go.
Oh yeah, I mean, this would be probably closer to like the mid-rangey elves list that I was making and Fran was making, and people played around with, and one of the other European nationals had one of the people show up with like this kind of like elves deck that cut all the untappers except for one copy of each, because like basically I found that if you have a Priest of Titania in your deck, a Wirewood Symbiote, a Q Ranger, 4 Guys Cradle, and 10 Mana Dorks, and Anger and Mountain, that's like the minimum package to just win on turn 4. So you can still win on turn 4 on the play against Enchantress. So like if that was important to you, like I think you can still do that, and then you can find your deck space elsewhere. If that was less important than you, then that's when I start looking at adding more like Sylvan Library type cards or Swords of Plowshares and that kind of stuff. So that's really pick your poison. But the big thing was just like, look, Enlightened Tutor for survival, I think is just like the only like, I mean, Enlightened Tutor was in and out of your parfait deck, right? To sometimes get Scroll Rack or Oath of Druids. Oh no, you still have one.
Play one Enlightened Tutor, right? 3 Oath, 3 Scroll Rack, 3 Sylvan Library, just a 4th copy of whatever you need. I don't think I've ever tutored for Sylvan, but I usually tutoring for Oath.
Yeah.
Or just like getting a shuffle after a Scroll Rack.
Right.
I don't like playing Enlightened Tutor. I just feel like it's
So
bearing sometimes.
That is exactly the thing that I was, kind of realizing was just like, look, Enlightened Tutor for survival but basically survival might be the only good Enlightened Tutor target like in the world, right? Like you don't have to play Opalescence Parallax Wave in this deck, but like, and then the fact that it opens up your sideboard to like being able to play Solitary Confinement so that you just never lose to burn, like all those things are just like super tasty to me. And then you probably don't need you don't need more like if you have 8 copies of Oath of Druid, or not, if you have 8 copies of Survival of Fittest and your Survival of Fittest can't get partly. There's so many elves lines.
How many Enlightened Tutors?
I mean, I played 3 in the Super Wave deck, but I honestly think that you can play 4 because you can basically get the survival and not lose the survival when it matters. And then if your opponent's just like playing a combo deck, right, you can Enlightened Tutor for Tormod's Crypt, Solitary Confinement, like whatever like cool thing that you need to do to like not die in that moment. So like it's just like it actually solves like one of the things that's interesting about the dynamic is that Elves has this problem where it can lose to Goblins, Burn, combo decks, right? And I guess to some extent Dreadnought, like, Enlightened Tutor for Seal of Cleansing against Dreadnought is like not going to be that good, but any port in a storm. But what you're kind of describing was like Enlightened Tutor for Oath of Druids is like really bad because you might be like Tutor for Oath and they might just be like Grave Revelation and you're like, oh, I'm screwed. But the narrative flips when you're like the proactive deck casting Enlightened Tutors rather than the reactive one, and all your oaths have a Oromancer insurance policy. Then all of a sudden, like with Genesis or some other tools, like your opponent might just be like, well, I boarded in like 7 naturalize effects and they're like still not enough, right? Like Ray of Revelation still remains good, right? Because they're trading, it's going to cost you 6 mana to go Oromancer, Survival of the Fittest, like whatever. But you can, there's nothing stopping you from just playing 3 Oromancers and that kind of stuff. So
That all sounds real fun. I've watched Dave play the Super Wave deck locally and thought it looked like something I would like to sleep up and play. It looks very powerful.
Yeah, that's on my radar. But yeah, what are you thinking? Are you thinking, just stock elves? Are you gonna try out the untapper list? Are you gonna try out something in like a third lane?
I was probably going to start with something closer to stock, closer to what I saw Ty playing. Just got me excited about playing the deck again.
Right. Well, fair enough.
Red Splash, especially now that it's got one of the poachers in there. I like that.
Yeah. Poacher is right. Yeah. Poacher is like doing the Oromancer thing with.
It is. It's the insurance. Like, you destroy my
policy.
survival. I'm going to go get this.
Yeah.
And then
that's even better if you go Enlightened Tutor. You go Enlightened Tutor, and then you play your survival with 2 mana up, and your Terravore opponent goes like, "I'll nationalize the survival," and you're like, "Cool, I'll get Oromancer and Poacher." Good luck. I love the sound of that. I wish I had these Elves cards. I have to borrow them from Mike, but I'll have to stick with playing them online.
I've also felt like maybe I want to bring back Terrageddon just because I hear so much bad talk about it here.
I mean, I look. I can't tell you what the deal is with that deck. I've played it. I've played against it. I just generally don't understand what it's doing here. Like, I just don't know. I just don't know who invited it to the party. She like shows up, bunch of awesome decks, great engines. Like, hey guys, it's like, hope you're not planning on putting lands into play because I'm gonna port them. I'm gonna get in them, and they're like, okay, sure, Terry. And like, you go beat up on the you go beat up on those kids over there. We're the adults are talking, but like, I think basically the straw that broke the camel's back for me was like, it's supposed to be like the deck that beats Dreadnought, but it just like often loses to Dreadnought, right? Which, like, I don't know. Maybe it's polarized in my mind. Maybe like if you're 55 or 60% against Dreadnought, like that counts as being good, but like, I don't know, what did you sacrifice for that win percentage, right? Like, if your only goal is to beat Dreadnought, you would just play Enchantress, right? Or you just play like good cards in your sideboard instead of, the Terrageddon plan, which is just kind of like, oh well, I'm just gonna play 10 variations of Pyroblast, Naturalize, and Swords of Plowshares. Like, that's
well, some Terrageddon plays Meddling Mage, which I think is a better
that's the change plan. But the thing is, it's not anything a Dreadnought player has ever not had to deal with. Like, that's kind of the thing, is like, you need a combination of things that don't look like problems that, decks are already designed to solve, right? Which is like, you can never analyze a pre-modern deck just by being like, oh, well, I'm not going to lose to whatever Angry Ghoul because I have Swords of Plowshares in my deck. It's just like, yeah, Angry Ghoul knows that it's bad against Swords of Plowshares, so it's just going to play cards that are good against Swords of Plowshares. It's the same thing with Dreadnought, right? It's like, Dreadnought has always known that it's bad against Swords of Plowshares. So it's just like, continually changed, or at least, the good pilots were continually changing. And like, if I'm a Terrageddon pilot and I'm sitting here and it was like, we've got all the colors of the rainbow, right? We can splash any color. We can play Engineered Plague. We can play Pyroclasm. We can play Pyroblast. We can play Earthquake. We can play Phyrexian Furnace, Tormod's Crypt, Enlightened Tutor, Oath of Druids. We play all those cards, but each individual one of those cards is not something that a deck is not prepared to beat, right? Every Elves pilot has a contingency plan for Pyroclasm and Engineered Plague. Every Dreadnought player has a contingency plan for Naturalize, So like, that's kind of like where I stand. And then you're kind of like, okay, well, you can do this critical mass thing if your deck contains deep analysis. Enter the Oath Spec deck, which is a deck that I moderately respect because it can just be like, okay, well, now I can play a bunch of these like cards, and like, my plan is to have multiple deep analysis in my deck so that I can actually find, like however many copies that I need to.
Right, because Terrageddon was like, I'm going to gradually draw cards with my Wayfarer.
Or your Sylvan
Spec is like, I'm just going to cast this Quiet Speculation and draw 3 cards.
Yeah, and both decks get to have Sylvan Library, and don't get me wrong, I think Sylvan Library is like really strong. Like, I think that the core fundamental thing of Terrageddon where you're just like, oh, we've got lots of Rishon Import and we've got Sylvan Library, and the more turns you play, the better your Sylvan Libraries get, and your Rishon Imports make your Armageddons better, and sometimes you have Mox Wayfarer and like whatever, and you have Call the Herd. These are all cards that I like, right? I've played every single card in Terrageddon in other decks. I've played Wayfarer in other decks now. I've played Call the Herd in tons of decks. I was trying to put Call the Herd in every green deck. At some point, I thought that it was just correct for every green deck to contain Call the Herd. But, as time goes by, I'm just kind of like, wait, this Terrageddon deck, like, it has everything, but it also has nothing, right? It's just kind of like, it's just really bad against survival of the fittest. It's like really bad against, just accumulated knowledge type stuff. It's, not really that impressive against combo. It kind of gives me the rock feel where you're like, oh, well, I can beat Replenish. I can beat Stifle Knot. I can beat, Oath Ponza sometimes, and Elves. Sometimes. So, I mean, Elves is a horrible matchup. I don't know. It actually doesn't.
Good showing at the largest pre-modern tournament ever.
Yeah, two in the top 16. I mean, we'll take it. I'm not gonna downplay on that accomplishment. Like, I think that's.
They were pretty different builds, right? Didn't one of them have like Nimble Mongoose?
Yeah, so we've got one that's like the 4-color with Mage in the main and Pyroblast in the sideboard with the Oath of Druids pivot in the sideboard. And then the second list is Nimble and also 4-color. And Nimble is at least like, I don't know. It's something, right? I was putting Nimble and Grow, and I was just like, Nimble's exciting. I was like, no, there's people can't answer a Nimble. I'm just gonna have Nimble Mongoose on the battlefield, and then
true. You're playing like one in there sometimes, right? I remember.
I played one
by that, and it didn't work.
I played one because I wasn't sure what would happen if I played more copies, so I was like, I'll play one. But yeah, look, I'm a T-Get hater. I have my reasons for hating it. My closest friends like yourself, like D-Tao, love T-Get, and I respect the hustle. I respect, I love a deck that's horrible, and I know how it feels. So,
people out there playing T-Get are working very hard for their wins.
Yeah. There you go. That's
gotta give them credit.
That is something that I absolutely agree with. I agree with you on that. Well, Steven, do you have any shout outs, any last things that you want to call out, anything about pre-modern, anything you're feeling? Do you want to talk about your favorite card that nobody plays? Yeah. What's your question?
Have you lost interest in the Bob's deck? It sounds like you've kind of shifted focus here.
Oh, okay. So Bob's deck, I think that after, and this is like the stupidest thing to say. Like, I think that maybe I don't have to play Merfolk Looter in the Bob's deck. Like, maybe the Bob's deck like is just like literally exactly how Bryson built it, and it should just be like that. So somebody asked me a question. Robin asked me, he was like, did you miss Portent? And I'm like, it's really hard to assess the absence of Portent, right? Because I've never looked at 7 cards in my hand and been like, a Portent wouldn't make this hand better. Like, a Portent makes every hand better. It's a great top deck. It's just like great anytime you're drawing it. And then so it's just like, why aren't I running Portent in this deck? And like, my kind of logic was like, well, I run Merfolk Looter, and Merfolk Looter is like way better than Portent in the kinds of games that I want to play, right? I want to be tapping Merfolk Looter all the time, and Portent, sometimes you Portent and you don't find the thing that you miss. Except for that's outrageous, because you could just Portent. If you like Merfolk Looter, you just Portent so that you draw more Merfolk Looter and Weather Wayfarer or whatever, and you draw less Mox Diamond or stuff that you don't want when you don't want it. So they asked that question. I'm like, oh, where would I find the space? And then I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know. It's the same thing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play 64 cards and just like add the 4 Portents in. I was like, oh, maybe I'll just cut 4 Merfolk Looter, and I'll just play the second Cephalid Coliseum so that my Weather Wayfarer is always a Merfolk Looter if I want it to be. And that's kind of like the last thought that I had with Bob's. My only other thought, like, my thought about Bob's was like, it's like exactly like my Terra. It's like, it's just Terrageddon for me, right? It's just like a deck.
I was going to ask, isn't it just Terrageddon, except after you resolve your Armageddon, your Terravore is just a 1/1 that loots?
Well, no, you also have Psychotog.
You have a Psychotog. There's your Terravore. Okay.
So, I guess I will comment on that. I think that the blue cards in Esper Bobs are like really, really good, and they're really, really good with the Terrageddon cards in Esper Bobs, right? So, or the Terrageddon, the Terrageddon cards in Esper Bobs being Weathered Wayfarer and Mox Diamond, right? So, like, Weathered Wayfarer loves Mox Diamond loves Gush, Weathered Wayfarer loves Gush. All three of them are like power thruple, right? You can draw any combination of two, and you're going to be super happy. Foil is really, really excellent, so that, whatever. And then Merfolk Looter is also really excellent because it is doing the exact same thing as Sylvan Library, but kind of just like in a more like material way of, instead of like it lets you do the third thing, which is like combine it with Gush, combine it with Weathered Wayfarer, and be like a little bit bigger than Sylvan. But at the end of the day, on paper, like I wouldn't be like Merfolk Looter isn't Sylvan, aside from the fact that you can start attacking for one with it. But I think that all these tools in conjunction, like you can move through your deck and you can like find your interesting cards. I think that you can play Sylvan Library in this deck, but I also like I'm a huge believer in Vindicate. Like I think that Vindicate is completely tying the room together here because, in game one, there's a huge difference between having 4 Swords of Plowshares and 2 Disenchants than to having 6 Swords of Plowshares and 2 Disenchants, right? And those are just kind of like the small difference makers.
Yeah.
And I also
Sylvan, Psychotog is Terravore, and then you just have a higher spell density because you run fewer lands.
Yeah, you run fewer lands. That was the other thing that super bugged me about Terrageddon. I was just like, you're playing 4 Weathered Wayfarer. Weathered Wayfarer is like land tax. It should be a card that makes it so that you run the lowest amount of lands possible. And then they're just kind of like, oh well, we're playing these spell lands, Rishon Import and Treetop Village.
Lands that are. Yeah, but even those make your Wayfarer worse, right?
Yeah,
the Wasteland is the one that stands out as good because you want it in the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly.
And cycling lands, then you're just building your own clues. That feels pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of basically where I land. I thought that cycling lands were interesting, and I think at the end of the day, it's more interesting to just play 1 or 2 Cephalid Coliseum. And like, I also think that every Tiga deck that can produce blue mana, which is all of them, should run the first Cephalid Coliseum in front of whatever other land that they're playing, like in front of Core Haven, definitely in front of the first copy of Secluded Steppe or Tranquil Thicket, right? Like those are all just completely blown out by how much better Cephalid Coliseum is, assuming that you've been cooking with Wayfarer for a while. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, do I think that the deck is exactly like Terrageddon? Yes. I just think that it's the ways in which it's different, like are, scratch my brain in the way that, makes more sense to me rather than just being like I hate Sylvan Librarying so much. I just forget the trigger half the time. Like I'm not excited to pick up 3 cards.
Well, there's a really easy fix for that. It's called, you just put a dice on top.
You just put a dice on top of your deck. No, I don't enjoy the experience. Like I, even if I do remember, I'm not happy about it. I'm just like, I'm just like, different. Oh man. Yeah, I know. Exactly. It's like a huge difference between you and me. I was like, I would just rather put the cards into my hand and keep them there, or just do it once, right? I have Portent. I just like do the Portent thing. No, I mean, Sylvan's a powerful card. We could definitely just be like, okay, like let's just play 4-color let's just play 4-color Terrageddon or 5-color Terrageddon or whatever, and we just like we'll play. Well, I don't know. You can't support Gush, right? Oh, that's kind of
When I look at the Dromar Bob's deck, I want to make it Treva Bob's personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally okay with that. Like, I think that like if in order for the thought that Esper Bobs should exist, like if you are going to make an argument for Esper Bobs to exist, like it completely hinges on you saying that Psychotog, Vindicate, and Engineered Plague are cards that you want in your deck, as opposed to Sylvan Library, Call the Herd, Terravore, right? And like I don't begrudge. I mean, Terravore is a giant pain in the ass though, because it's GG. Like that's kind of like the other thing that drags.
Yeah,
so like
Trample's pretty OP.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't play. Could you play? Do you think that you could play Gush in a deck that supports Terravore? Is the follow-up question.
You really have to work hard there.
Yeah.
I had a question just circling back to how we just had an event that was like variation of pre-modern, and then at events like LobsterCon, we've had side events that were variations of pre-modern. And I was just curious if you were tasked to, if you had the opportunity to run an event that is some variation of pre-modern, do you know how you'd want to structure that? Have you given thought to like your ideal pre-modern variant?
There are two that I would play. One would be Big Apple Highlander. I think Big Apple Highlander is a amazing format. Every single game I've played of Big Apple Highlander is super cool. The ones that I've seen is super cool.
Most listeners know, but it's pre-modern card pool, singleton, no ban list except anti-cards. So you can play all the busted cards, but only one of each because it's singleton 60 card.
Exactly.
Great format.
Yeah, I love that format, and I love my deck in that format, and I love all the other decks that I saw in the format. You can even play Tarragon in Big Apple Highlander, and I would be like, yep, that's fine. It already was a card with one of everything anyway, so it already had one of every effect and one of every color. The second answer would be I would absolutely spend like, a month. I would make it my mission to build the absolute best pre-modern scryings that's ever been conceived. This is a project that Phil's working on. And Phil and I deviate a little bit on philosophy. Like, he's building pre-modern scryings, trying to make it possible so that you can continue to only do old border. And he's not going backwards in addition to forward. So he's not going to look at Fallen Empires or Alpha Beta Revised, right? Or Alpha Beta.
Oh, he's not adding him to Turok like you sicko.
Yeah. I would add him to Turok to the format in a heartbeat. Like, I have no, like, I don't understand how people play this format without a high pain tolerance to begin with, right? Like, I just, like people are like, listen, I'm totally okay with you, like, survivaling me out, Armageddon me out, like, even Ritual Hippie is kind of miserable, right? Like, but I draw and some people are like, yeah, you can Dreadnought me all you want. That's totally fine. But I draw the line at Parallax Wave. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, all of these are horrible. Like, Oath of Druids is horrible. Like, you could, like, fuck it. Sinkhole, him to Torak, come join the party, right?
Sinkhole?
Like,
wow.
Why not? I mean, Sinkhole is like, it's a pre-modern power level card. And then there's kind of the obvious ones like Ancient Grudge and Pithing Needle.
Already got Rain of Tears, right? I mean, no one plays that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Ancient Grudge and Pithing Needles are like, super obvious. There's like cards that, Lightning Helix, Watch Wolf. There's just like a bunch of cards that are just pre-modern power level, and they're just like really
Robin
excellent.
Inspector. Or maybe Clues are crossing the line. I don't know.
No.
Goblin Engineer to go with the Goblin Welder.
No. These cards are broken. That card was printed in Modern Horizons. Are you kidding me?
No Horizons cards. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you can have Horizons cards. You can put okay, this is a controversial one. This is I can't believe. No, this is too strong. I can't even believe I thought it. But I do love Arkham's Astrolabe, but that would just be completely disgusting in pre-modern.
That's a bad idea.
It's horrible.
Constructed format, right?
Horrible. But there's just so many cards out there. Like, they're impossible to name them all, but I think they're all like super interesting. I do think that it would be nice to like I don't know what I would do. Like, Sylvan Scrying is like kind of a. Like, the problem is there's too many cards that I would add. And so I would need to like sit down and be like, okay, what are my goals? Like, do I want to build new archetypes? Do I want to like, add more interesting goblins that aren't like, should I add the BR goblin that's just a deals damage, right? It's just a gem palm. It's just an FTK. Card. Yeah, that was a Horizons card, but that's like totally tame, right? Or Changeling, the Changeling Vandal thing that kills an artifact or enchantment. Like, I would just like put a few more disenchant variants that are like, like Oxidize is an obvious upgrade to Crumble kind of stuff. I mean, you kind of don't need to do that, but it wouldn't hurt. Like Serral's Packmate, like creatures that ETB draw a card, would be good. Like, I wouldn't add like Elvish Visionary, right? but yeah, to answer your question, if I were to like plan a LobsterCon side event, and the thing is, the scryings would be like a huge project, right? Because scryings, old school
project,
it's
hard to balance.
Yeah. Well, it's not like You could balance it in the sense that you could just simply not introduce, like, you could just be like, all right, well, we're not going to put like chrome ox in. Like, we're just not going to put in, something that like even something innocuous like Dream Trawler. Like, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to add any planeswalkers. I don't want to add any engines, right? Like,
Oh no, absolutely not.
like, I mean, like, here's a question: do you think pre-modern scrying should have Dark Confidant?
Yes.
Yeah, that might just that's probably like the board. That's the upper boundary of how powerful a card would be to add to pre-modern, because I think Dark Confidant is like really fucking good. So
How about Life from the Loam? No, that's too. See, we're getting too good. So, for context, for anyone who doesn't know, Scryings was like in a community-run addition to the old school format. A bunch of cards from the years following that were designed to like expand what you could do in old school.
yeah, what are some examples?
Only at
Of,
Scryings events.
yeah, what are some examples of cards in old school scryings that kind of define the format?
Well, you can play Dreadnought. I don't know that people do actually all that much, because what do you got to do? You got to do the illusionary mask to really
Yeah,
pull it
yeah,
off.
that's in the and Dreadnought
Once you
is
pull it
also
off, you can
obviously
berserk it, so that's pretty cool. I've only followed some scryings, like following the MobsterCon results specifically. I've yet to play it.
Yeah, I think like Emerald Charm is in there, so it makes Twiddle Vault extra good type stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
so Twiddle Vault's really good, and then also there's infinite mana, power monolith, and then there's some artifact that you sink your infinite mana into and dome your opponent, and you can do all of this behind a City of Solitude.
yeah. So my interesting thing would be like, okay, so people really want Pithing Needle. I think Pithing Needle's great. Like, I think Pithing Needle's great. I think that I would add Engineered Explosives. Would be like sort of a no-brainer one to me. But yeah, I would just like add like interesting reactive cards and like a good smattering of proactive cards. Dark Confidant being a good example. I would add like Looter Ilcore.
Yeah.
Like any of like the
shadow creature, right? It's spiritually a pre-modern.
yeah. I think it was printed in Time Spiral, exactly. So like, I don't know. There's so many interesting like little cards, like just like and especially stuff printed in Ravnica, like feels like it would slot into pre-modern. And then I would find like the worst lands to add, right? Like obviously I would add enemy fetches, but I might be like, what's like the worst land cycle that you could add to pre-modern? Like almost all of them are, I think check lands are probably like the worst lands that you could still add to pre-modern.
The common lands that are dual lands that enter tapped, so you could fetch a dual only if you fetch it tapped.
I think that's still pretty obscene. Like, because we have Gush and Land Grant and Tithe.
Yeah, well, if I got to run one of these formats, I would just say 10 dual lands are legal. Go have fun.
Yeah, go have
fun. Then you could build your Terravore Gush deck, and it would be great.
Yeah, I would be like, go have fun, except for Gush is banned. Like, it would take me like a millisecond to ban Gush.
I think there's other fun things you could do. I think Elves with just a bunch of Taigas is super powerful.
So pre-modern to me is a format defined by bad mana. So I would like be like, okay, enemy fetches. I would be like enemy fetches, and then I would add. Oh no, Prismatic Vista is just better than every fetch land in pre-modern. So Prismatic Vista is too good.
It's just a 4 of in every deck, right?
Yeah. It would just be dumb.
You could do Ash Barons though.
Yeah, Terramorphic Expanse feels like it might just be too weak. I think Terramorphic Expanse or Ash Barons are both. Ash Barons is definitely an acceptable, like sort of in the territory. What about you? What would the SWB pre-modern format look like?
Oh, you mean literally
not
aside
scryings.
From the
Yeah.
The only one I had thought of was I hadn't thought of a Scryings one. It's just I'm sure this has been done and I've just missed it. I do still want to do the one with dual land, because to me that's going to feel like the extended that I played long before, when I was younger, first playing Magic. Because at the time, the revised rotated out, but the dual lands were grandfathered in.
Yeah,
it
was a
legal.
weird thing. Yeah, like I really like the idea of old frame vintage or old frame legacy, like just pre-modern, except for with the legacy and vintage the card list or band list.
Oh, yeah. And then there is a format that I've played when I'm back in Nashville. It's just called Classic Legacy, and I think it just goes to like Rise of the Eldrazi. So this is kind of a different thing, but it's another community-run format, much smaller than pre-modern, of course. But you just play with a broader card pool. You do play with duels.
I would dig that, but still keep the aesthetics. Like I'm totally happy to stop at Scourge.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Classic Legacy is cool. I just think, I'm just kind of like, there's still.
Have you heard of or played Classic Vintage? Because I will be playing that next month.
Is that the same as Old Frame or?
It's almost exactly the same as Old Frame.
Okay, yeah. So
very subtle differences.
2003 Vintage is one that I'm like super interested in.
2003 Vintage. We'll do so when I go back to Nashville, we'll do that, and then we'll do Alpha 2 Alliances, which is to say, Type 1 or Vintage at the time of the Alliances.
Like Vintage, the fact that like Fact or Fiction was restricted in Vintage, and as a result, everyone played Deep Analysis. Like that's the Vintage that I'm like super interested in, because I'm just like, that's amazing. Like Deep Analysis. Rich Shea was like, Lavadar's my favorite card because I used it to kill Goblin Welders, because that was like the biggest thing in the metagame. Like that's kind of the deal.
Yeah, and Roland won the World Championship of Vintage with Goblin Welder.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that kind of Vintage, I'm sure. And then of course we're close with Roland and Rich, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind us bringing it back either. That would be a fun side event to throw out at LobsterCon. I would just do like 10 side events. Like I hate to like, I know that they want to do this, and I'm like I hope Dress Crew has the most success, and I guess our crew is actually going to run it, or Andy's going to run it. They're going to run the Enemy Fetches Legal side event at LobsterCon next year, or like that's kind of like we're talking about it, or it's in the works. And the idea is that they don't want to run vanilla pre-modern side event because people just ended up treating it like a second main event. But they still want an event where people are allowed to play the same deck they played in the main event. And I'm just like super worried that the same thing is going to happen to that as Shocklands. Like people would be like, okay, I'm just going to play on Change.
Is it just too subtle of a change?
I mean, it's just like not that like, it's not too subtle of a change in the sense that like people are going to be really excited to play like Blue-Black Elves or the Rock or whatever, they're going to want to do stuff.
Put Sylvan in your Dreadnought deck, and when people plow your Dreadnought, you can just draw cards without looking.
Yeah. The blue-green Dreadnought. Like I think these are all like interesting, but they're not like, I'm just not going to be like super hyped to play 5 rounds of blue-green Dreadnought, right? Like it's like, I can play the Rock, right? Like playing the Rock with Verdant Catacombs, I'm just like, great. Like now my deck only sucks a little bit less, right? Like, putting Misty Rainforest into Grotog, like, yeah. But the thing is, there's nothing about that's going to surprise me. I'm just going to be like, great, like my mana's better, right? So it's not like it doesn't feel like a different experience. It's just like literally pre-modern, except for like all these decks have a buff. I think it's like that would have to be its own format. And then like, you would get into like this weird thing where it would bifurcate the format, right? Because the formats would just be the same. It'd be like middle school versus pre-modern. A lot of the decks are exactly the same, except for maybe there's more 3-color decks, and then maybe there's more enemy color decks. But it's like, monocolor is still better than multicolor in middle school and pre-modern, right? Like Elves, Goblins, Burn, Dreadnought, are all good. Replenish. It replenishes
Moneyball Black. Don't forget Moneyball Black.
Yeah, Moneyball Black.
Top of the world right now.
Yeah. Like literal best deck in the world. Like monocolored is still super good. So it's just kind of like pre-modern with more decks. Whereas like pre-modern, except for like the Rock is 51% and Dead Gael is 51%. And you can play blue-green Dreadnought and it doesn't suck. Grotog gets slightly better. Terrageddon gets so exciting. You can play like, whatever. Domain gets better. Like these are all like interesting, but it's like it wouldn't change enough for it to matter, right? Like there isn't like some deck that can't like a blue red Dreadnought. Like everyone's just tried everything. It's just like, it's not like the difference between Scalding Tarn and City of Brass is just, it's meaningful, but it's just not like It just doesn't change anything about like, it's not going to make me happier. Basically, that's kind of the bottom line.
I hear you. And I believe and hope that there are people out there who are super excited and jazzed about this side event too.
Yeah. I'm rooting for a successful LobsterCon. I'm rooting for all the events that LobsterCon to be successful. You know, I personally, and granted, like, you know, I'm a different type of player. Like, there are people who love playing the rock. So, like, you know, they're going to love playing the rock with Verdant Catacombs. There are people who want to play Blue Green Dreadnought. Like, you know, I would, you know, listen, if I burn out on day one and I don't want to do commentary on day two, like, I'm playing for Misty Rainforest in Grotog, and it's gonna be awesome. But it's just also not going to
be nice.
It's still like, I play Grotog and Unchained too. I just like play Forcible Grotog and it's broken. You know, I'm just gonna, but like, I'm like, it's it's like, this is the 10th time you've shown Grotog in class for show and tell. Like, that's my experience.
Well, it's good chatting with you today.
Likewise, always happy to have you on. I'm trying to WWSWBD Part 2. Still got to get the t-shirts made. I have dice pouches that I realized that I can print onto, but these are all on the back burner a little bit for me, as I just try to make sure this podcast comes out on a weekly basis to begin with.
Well, glad you're doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for all the support, of course. This has been Spy Colony. Love Spy Colony.
Game over.